Okay, it is 26 degrees Fahrenheit or -3 degrees Celsius, which is actually very good weather for making sausage. You want everything to be as cold as possible while doing this. Slightly uncomfortable for me, but that's okay. That's what I do. So this is going to be a cured sausage. It actually takes about 30 days sitting in a wine cooler where it kind of like mimics the perfect conditions you want for curing sausage. So this is going to be for a future episode, like in a month's time I'm going to film that and hopefully it'll be warmer then. But for now I am making this Göttinger Stracke. I'm going to chop up the pork shoulder, bacon, mix in some spices, a little bit of rum, put this stuff into casings, and then it's going to hang in my wine cooler for the next month until it loses like probably 30 to 40, maybe 50% of its overall mass. All the moisture is going to leave it, and it's going to be like a beautiful, tasty, salty, cured sausage that's going to make a wonderful like little breakfast, German style breakfast. Take off the skin, debone it. The bone and skin's removed, so it's about 1.5 pounds of pork shoulder and then about 0.75 pounds of pork belly, bacon, nice and fatty. Sliced it myself. So, gonna mix this up one time, grind it, then put the spices in, grind it again, then put it in the sausage stuffer. Okay, before I start this, I will acknowledge this looks terrible, what I'm doing, but this is how you make sausage, and I have to position it like this so you can see it. But yes, I do know what this looks like, and it's not good. Yeah. You have a wine cooler. Again, it mimics the conditions that you need to, cure sausage like that. Oh, look, all of my awards for my show. This one is for best TV show ever. This one is for best hat, and this is nicest smile. You make sure to weigh these each and then like label it so you know like how much moisture and how much weight it's lost, and you'll know when it's ready, but it's usually like right around a month. Heavily salted water. That's going to keep the moisture up inside, and then the salt prevents bacteria from growing in the water. 30 days. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I have a good feeling about it though. Welcome to Table for 92, element number 48, cadmium. It's number 48 because it has exactly 48 protons within its nucleus. For cadmium, we're making Göttinger Stracke, a traditional German pork sausage from Göttingen, where cadmium was first discovered in 1817. So cadmium is found in a whole bunch of foods, but not in a good way, not at all. Yeah, cadmium is well known as being a carcinogen. You type in cadmium into the internet and the first thing that pops up is from cancer.gov, then OSHA, then the CDC. So cadmium is found in tons of food because trace elements of cadmium are found in soil and rock, either naturally or through pollution. So people living in contaminated areas are way more likely to be exposed to cadmium in their local foodstuffs. According to the European Council on Food Safety, the foods most likely to contain toxic cadmium are cereals, nuts, starchy root vegetables like potatoes, oil seeds like sunflowers, soybeans, sesame seeds, and others, and meat products, but there are smaller amounts in shellfish and wild mushrooms, so that's part of the reason I'm making sausage, and also because it's absolutely delicious. Göttingen is a beautiful city right in the heart of Germany. I visited there a couple times. Gorgeous. But in Germany, like every town has their own specialty cured sausage they prepared, just like every town has its own brewery. This is just the sausage popular in Göttingen, but yeah, it's absolutely delicious. Interestingly though, they say people that follow a vegetarian diet might be more susceptible to cadmium exposure because of their higher consumptions of the aforementioned foods. Smoking is also a really big part of cadmium exposure, like a really high one. But yeah, cadmium has no biological role in the human body. It's just poison, really. So don't eat cadmium, even though it sounds like it could be a delicious chocolate egg of some sort. Cadmium, chocolate eggs. Yeah, it's just poison. Honestly, cadmium is just a disaster today environmentally, mostly due to the burning of fossil fuels. I don't want to sound like I'm beating a dead horse here about fossil fuels, but in this particular case, that horse died from cadmium exposure. Those areas most affected by cadmium in the soil are around coal burning power plants. When you burn coal, it's not just pure coal that's in there. There are always impurities, and the stuff that doesn't burn off in the process of making electricity stays around. So whatever cadmium gets left over eventually makes its way into the soil in much higher concentrations than it would ever be found in naturally. And cadmium will get pushed in the direction the wind is going from coal burning power plants. So, obviously we need electricity, but something's gotta change. Cadmium is pretty commonly found in zinc ores as they have similar chemical properties. As you can see, they're table buddies in row 12 of the periodic table. So cadmium is still used in stuff, but that's been declining for a while now. Nearly all cadmium is used in renewable nickel cadmium batteries, but those are getting phased out. Back in the day though, before people really knew about the dangers of cadmium, it was used in all sorts of stuff. Cadmium's resistant to corrosion, so it was used for a while electroplating steel and got a whole lot of workers sick. Probably though, the most famous case of cadmium poisoning was in Japan. So there's these really profitable mines up in the mountains, and even though they weren't trying to mine cadmium, it was in the same ores as the gold, silver, and lead that they were mining, and that cadmium was released into the river systems and got a lot of people sick. It must have been really terrible. It's remembered as the itai disease, which means like ouch, ouch disease because of the terrible pains that it caused. Like I said, before cadmium was first discovered in 1817 in Göttingen in the Kingdom of Hanover, this was before the country of Germany became a thing, and the discovery of cadmium was actually a search by multiple scientists as to why a popular medicine, zinc oxide, that when produced was supposed to have a solid white color, but sometimes came out blue. Yeah, back then they called zinc oxide by its Latin name cadmia, as in calamine lotion. That stuff used for, sunburn, mosquito bites, or in the early 1800s, probably syphilis. Everybody had syphilis back then. So it would be Friedrich Strohmeyer, the professor of chemistry at the University of Göttingen, who would discover the reason why blue calamine was a thing. By heating the samples to a very high temperatures, Strohmeyer was able to isolate the blue stuff and heat it with carbon. That released a bluish gray metal. A couple of other scientists in Germany also figured out cadmium the same year, but later. So, that's how it works in science. The first discoverer who publishes gets to name it. So cadmium, after the Latin cadmia, wasn't too original naming it, gotta say, but there it is. So cadmium is extremely dangerous. Doesn't really have all that many uses anymore, but Göttinger Straße is delicious, so we've got that going for us. So for my breakfast board, I've got Brötchen rolls, the great breakfast rolls they have in Germany, and a couple other kinds of breads, pickles, jams, and other spreads, some soft-boiled eggs, cut in half, sausage, cheese, mustard, mayo, honey, tomatoes, and cucumbers. I lived in Germany for a while. It's awesome there, but the Germans, they don't get a lot of credit for the culinary arts, a lot of organ meats and stuff, but let me tell you, they do breakfast boards so good. Sunday morning, you get this beautiful spread. It's some of the most delicious breakfasts you'll ever have. A bunch of fresh baked Brötchens, bread, meats like this Göttinger Straße, cheeses, little pickles, tomato, cucumber, and you just have all this stuff together so you can make your own little sandwiches. Like the way I would usually do it, I'd have one sandwich savory with the cold cuts and the cheese and the remoulade, and then one sweet with some butter and jam and maybe some honey in there. But yeah, with these boards, there's just like endless combinations. It's absolutely delicious. German breakfasts, highly recommend. And this Göttinger Straße, absolutely delicious too. Thanks, see you next time. Please like and subscribe. It's easy, it helps me. Doesn't really help you, but it helps me.